Welcome back everyone. The Google Pixel 5a just came out, so let's go ahead and compare it to another phone that came out this year, which is the OnePlus 9. Now what's funny is the OnePlus 9, came out, we already kind of know what it is, so we've already compared it, reviewed it here, and I like that phone overall. I think it was a pretty, average update from the OnePlus 8T, but compared to something like the Google Pixel 5a, there's a lot of advantages for both phones. They all have the cool little things and cool little tweaks here and there. I will tell you though, overall, the OnePlus 9 does seem like more of a flagship than the Pixel 5a, and funny enough, the OnePlus 9 in some areas was actually cheaper or around the same price as a brand new Pixel 5a. The 5a is $450. The OnePlus 9 had some deals here and there. They were half off not too long ago, and they're probably being sold for around $500 to $600 on Amazon. So if you want to pick up either one of these things, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now on the front, the OnePlus 9 has a bigger 6.55-inch Fluid AMOLED display. It's a 120Hz panel, and overall, I think that panel looks pretty good. It's 1080p, so it's not really like 1440p or anything crazy, but it's still a pretty good looking panel, and I've had no issues at all. It pretty much is almost exactly the same thing as a OnePlus 8 panel or the 8T panel, but it's still very good, and I have very little complaints about it. The Pixel 5a, on the other hand, has a smaller 6.34-inch OLED display. It's also 1080p, but you do not have any higher refresh rate on this thing. So there's no 120Hz, no 90Hz. You're stuck at that 60Hz, which I don't think is that crazy big of a deal, especially for that price tag. But I will tell you, the OnePlus 9 being a couple months older, it has gone down in the price a little bit, so keep that in mind. Now, hole punch displays, curved display a little bit on the OnePlus 9, which looks really good. USB Type-C on the bottom. The Pixel 5a does have a headphone jack, which is really cool. The chassis of the phone does feel overall more premium on the OnePlus 9, and that does allude to the back. The OnePlus 9 has that glass back, which looks and feels actually pretty good. The Pixel 5a has this metal back, which also doesn't look that bad, and it doesn't feel as premium as the OnePlus 9, and that's kind of the way I would kind of synopsize the whole entire feeling in the phone. The Pixel 5a looks good, the OnePlus 9 looks good, but the OnePlus 9 feels like that $1,000 phone, where the Pixel 5a really does feel like a $450 phone, so that's a massive thing to keep in mind. Fingerprint sensor on the back of the Pixel 5a, and you also have those camera setups on the back of both of these phones too, which we'll go ahead and hit on right now. Now the OnePlus 9 has that 48 megapixel wide-angle lens, 50 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, then a 2 megapixel monochrome lens. Now me personally, I don't even know what that monochrome lens does, if I'm being completely honest. Where the Pixel 5a has that 12.2 megapixel wide-angle lens, then a 16 megapixel ultra-wide sensor. Now this is what I'll tell you about both these phones, okay? The OnePlus 9's camera, to be honest, wasn't that bad, but it really was underwhelming of what I thought it was going to be. You have 4K at 60, but you also have 8K video, and OnePlus hyped this camera up like crazy, and I was kind of underwhelmed. I was expecting like the craziest camera. Although it was pretty good, it really wasn't better than even something like an iPhone 12 or 12 Pro, and I think the iPhone 12 to OnePlus 9 was kind of more interesting. With a Google Pixel 5a, you have the ability of doing 4K at 60, which I'm really happy about, and I kind of like the Pixel 5a's camera between these two. I feel like Google just has such an edge for their post-processing of the photos, where the photos look so much better after you take them. The OnePlus 9, I feel like Google just does a better job with the software enhancements of the photos, where OnePlus 9, the hardware is good, but the software-wise, it just really isn't as good as you may think. On the front, you have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera on the OnePlus 9, then an 8 megapixel camera on the, Google Pixel 5a, both 1080p at 30, which is great, but again, this is kind of more of the same, but the back cameras are a little bit more interesting. So I would give the edge to the OnePlus 9 because it is, 8K capability, which is really cool, but I do think actually the Pixel 5a may have the better camera in this specific standpoint. So in terms of that covers it up in the camera comparison. Now another difference that's kind of more of the same right now, but it may change in the future, is the software. So, OnePlus has Oxygen OS, beautiful software, my favorite version of Android, but with their new announcements with switching over to Color OS or whatever it's going to be, that is going to change my perspective on OnePlus, and whenever that happens, I think stock Android is going to be number one again. They're both on Android 11, they're both going to get pretty long supported phones and long supported software, but it may mean that the Pixel 5a, especially with that new Tensor chip coming out, Google may go ahead and increase the longevity of their phones, making the Pixel devices that flagship, iPhone in a way, with getting long supported, software, which is going to be really awesome. So in terms of both, both have really good features. Oxygen OS had a lot of features too, but like I mentioned, if they switch over to Color OS, I'm not going to be a huge fan of it, and that's pretty much what I would say in that specific standpoint. Now with the Pixel 5a, it's still going to be supported for a long time. You're going to have custom ROMs on both, which is great, but the Pixel 5a is probably going to beat it. I feel like there's also going to be a bigger community with the Pixel 5a as well. And it also means that, Google may actually go ahead and, develop more software. People will go ahead and develop more custom ROMs for the Google Pixel 5a as well. So software-wise, that covers that. Battery life-wise, there is a little bit of a difference. So the Pixel 5a has a little bit of a bigger battery. That phone has a 4680 mAh battery. The OnePlus 9 has a 4500 mAh battery. So both of them are great. You do have wireless charging on the OnePlus 9, where there is no wireless charging on the Google Pixel 5a. So that is another kind of mild thing to keep in mind. So that really pretty much covers it up in the outside and the battery life standpoint. Now ending it off with the performance, the OnePlus 9 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset, Adreno 660 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on the bottom tier model, and then 12 gigs of RAM on that top tier model, where the Google Pixel 5a has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset, an Adreno 620 GPU, and only one model with 6 gigs of RAM. Now this is what I'll tell you about the performance standpoint. I kind of do think that the, OnePlus 9 is probably the, more faster one when it comes down to, which is more obvious. That thing has the latest chipset, but the other thing to keep in mind is that this phone's RAM is more on the base model than the only model of the Pixel 5a. You have pretty much stock software on both right now, but you also have the opportunity to go up to 12 gigs of RAM on that OnePlus 9. So that is another pretty big thing. You're almost getting twice the amount of RAM on the OnePlus 9 if you do get that top tier model. So keep that in mind as that top tier model. Now the OnePlus 9's performance was really good, blazing fast. That 120Hz refresh rate also helps with the speed and the look of the whole entire phone overall. But that Pixel 5a, I think it's a fast phone, but it is very jittery right now. So I think that has a lot to do with that 60Hz panel. It's a stock Android, the Pixel 5 feels more, faster than this thing, even though they have the same chipset. It's just that 90Hz refresh rate really does help out with the pixels. Those animations just aren't as smooth, but the Pixel 5a is still a very fast phone. And for that price tag, for having that same chipset as, I guess the flagship Pixel of last year, that's still a really good performing phone overall. So although the OnePlus 9 is the faster phone, the Google Pixel 5a is still a pretty good phone too, and it's really not that much slower. It is a slower phone for sure. The bigger differences you're going to see is the RAM and the speed of everything, because the animations are so much faster on the OnePlus 9 and it's so much smoother because of that refresh rate. So that's a big thing to keep in mind, and that's kind of how it kind of sum up the performance segment and to kind of sum up this whole entire video and to answer the question, should you go and buy a Pixel 5a or should you spend a little bit more money and get a OnePlus 9? This is what I'll tell you, I think the OnePlus 9 is probably the more flagship phone. That thing has a little bit more going for it. It has that 120Hz refresh rate, arguably a better camera on the back when not really, it has 8K, but other than that, the Pixel 5a I think is a better camera. You have a way better feeling phone, it definitely feels like a lot more premiumness than the Pixel 5a, and it really is only a little bit more expensive, especially in the used market, than the OnePlus 9. So those are some major things to keep in mind, but the Pixel 5a I think is a very good phone too. I mean, longer software support potentially. Also, the software is better on the Pixel 5a I guess now than the OnePlus 9. On top of that, performance really isn't that bad. The back camera may actually be better than the OnePlus 9. I'm kind of flip-flopping here. You actually do have IP certification on both, which is great. And overall, I mean, I don't know, I think the OnePlus 9 is the one I would rather go to right now. But I feel like the Pixel 5a is a really good phone, especially for that price tag and for it being cheaper in the brand new market than the OnePlus 9. So that's kind of how I would cover it up. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, like I mentioned, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.